As an outsider, I just want to speak as someone who actually helps to edit a very large social science journal about this question of evidence and knowledge and what can be done and the limits, because I worry in some ways. I think that the document is fabulous, but I worry in many ways that the search for evidence is not a panacea, and there are some cautionary tales. And let me just sort of raise a few things. First, I'm comfortable in some ways with the truth versus falsity of information. That's something that in the community of scientists makes us very nervous, because we're never sure we can get to the truth. That all we ever know is that we're probably less likely to make a really boneheaded mistake, as opposed to that we've actually somehow discovered the truth. And we all live in a fancy world, in a fancy term, epistemological uncertainty. We just don't know. And you can try to accumulate as much evidence as you want, but at the end of the day, there's judgments that are going to have to be made, because the evidence will just not be there. And importantly, decisions have to be made despite the lack of evidence that would help you feel better about your decisions. Another point is that in my field of international relations and political science, we see ourselves as a community of researchers. And that has a certain kind of burden that I don't hear right now. That burden is that we need to post our data. And that has actually led to a really interesting set of disputes between those who do field work and qualitative research and those who do quantitative. Because, as you can imagine, those who do field work and do interview collection are not really keen to post their data. Whereas those who do quantitative data are quite willing to do that. We have websites now that are dedicated to people being able to post their data, and that's important for replicability, so that people can actually go in and look at the quality of data and test it themselves and to see whether, in fact, they come up with the same findings. And, of course, there's going to be tremendous disagreement among scientific scholars and researchers. There is no one path to truth. The kind of knowledge that is sometimes referred to in this conversation is almost of an if-then quality. If we do this, then something will happen. But in fact, most of the knowledge that we accumulate is probabilistic. We think there's a reasonably good chance that if we do this, then something good will happen. But we oftentimes don't know. And part of the job that we have is trying to figure out the conditions under which we are more likely to get the kind of outcome we want, all while knowing that this is a probabilistic enterprise. Quality analysis. One of the things that I have to do now all the time, and anybody who publishes has to provide a conflict of interest statement. Because they want to know where I'm getting my money from, whether in fact my findings are going to be biased in some respect because of who I am and the networks I'm in. That's something that I think all of us in the room need to think about, especially given the fact that, as we know, we're collecting evidence and also our jobs are on the line as we're doing so. And then lastly, as an academic, I just would plead with you to also think about information storage. One of the things as an academic, as I've sort of studied the humanitarian world, is that I've been impressed by how much great data has been collected over the years by so many organizations and so much hardship, and then it just gets lost. And at least for the academics, not for yourselves, but think of us, just find a way to actually store and manage and classify the data so that it's retrievable, and so that we can actually continue to actually accumulate evidence and use it over time. That's not a trivial aspect to